Starting out in 2012, Soldier On helps those who have served with their physical and mental health. They assist with their community and ensuring they have a bright future. Here to tell us all about it today is John Bale, who's the CEO and co-founder of Soldier On. Welcome. John, before you started Soldier On, you were an active service person yourself. Tell me a little bit about that and how did that come about?
So I have a long military tradition, so my family has served for a long period of time, and what I wanted to do was to continue to, be a part of that and to give back. And I really liked the elements of sacrifice that my family had been through and the elements of service, but also the idea of I want to be a pilot flying a plane or a helicopter sounded really cool. And I was directed towards the Australian Defence Force Academy to complete undergraduate studies there. And from there, as any Army officer does, if you go through ADFA, then you have a year that you have to complete at the Royal Military College Duntroon. And then basically you get put into a corps. And for me it was signals. Unfortunately I wasn't good enough to be that pilot, and then moved off into that and continued my career through that period of time.
You started Soldier On with your wife and a friend. Were they active service people too?
No, so Cavan is, or was I should say, so he's now subsequently discharged out of the Royal Australian Air Force, and he was serving at the same time that I was at Headquarters Joint Operations Command. So Danny obviously isn't a service personnel, so she was training to be at that time a psychologist and now is a clinical psychologist.
Tell me how the three of you came up with the idea to get Soldier On off the ground.
So the first conversation I remember was actually a drive between Canberra and Noosa. So we were going on holidays. We didn't have any kids then, so you could take a 11-hour drive. And we talked about it on the way up and the way back, and really explored this. Obviously, it's been around for a couple of years, and at the end of that trip, we're like, well, let's do it. And the real key thing that we wanted to do first off was to break down that image that if you'd got PTSD or a physical injury, etc., that you were broken. So that was the first thing we really wanted to do. And we thought that a good way of doing that was through sport. So the first thing we wanted to do was really get a few veterans and get them into sports-based activities. It's also a great way of inspiring people that we wanted to build awareness, but we didn't want to build awareness by doing the whole, look at this veteran, they've got PTSD, they're broken, you should feel sorry for them. We wanted to say all of those things, but here's them doing an activity that's quite inspiring, and most of you Australians couldn't and don't do that. So let's tell the story through an inspiring way. So that's what we wanted to do to start with.
You started in 2012, we're a few years on now. Tell me a little bit about how the program has progressed from its early awareness days through to now.
Now we provide 3 core service lines to still achieve the same end state, and that is to have the best reintegrated generation of veterans and families in our country's history. But we do that through 3 main areas. And the first one is social connectedness. And that's really where we started, is that opportunity to be able to connect the veteran with their family and the veteran and their family with the community. And that's through coffee catch-ups, through yoga, art classes, sailing, Coalition of Australian Motorsports partnerships. It's partnerships with football clubs like GWS and St Kilda, and a range of other elements such as men's weekends, women's weekends, etc, etc, etc. Now all of that has allowed for veterans to be able to start to build a network. So providing that, or supporting you into an environment like that, gives you that support mechanism you need. So that's one element. The other is mental health support. And what we've realised going through this is, as much as mental health support is provided in many instances through governments like the Veteran and Veteran Family Counselling Service, it provides you with a 40-minute or an hour session with a psychologist. But at the end of that session, you go back to your life. You come there, you do an hour with the psychologist, and you move on. What we recognise with our psychologists is, firstly, they actually needed to be on these activities, in these social connected programs, and really start to build a rapport with veterans, especially those that hadn't seen a psychologist before. There was a lot of rumours and stigma around mental health support. So breaking that down by offering that one-on-one, because in many instances we are dealing with people that are impacted by their service. So having immediate support by someone who's not just mentally health trained, but is a clinical psychologist means that not only we can provide that service, but also everything we do then is evidence-based. So all the activities we design and build are built off a base of evidence. And I think that is critical going forward because there's a lot of stuff out there, but the evidence base around it is it's different. But in actually providing that support means that we can make sure that what we spend our dollars on and time and effort on is actually the best that can be done by the veteran and the family. And the other element that we've only added properly in the last 6 months is our employment and education focus, which is absolutely, I think, the missing link for what we were trying to provide and the gaps that we had found.
What's your funding model for Soldier On?
So our funding model at this point in time is split. So it's predominantly from the Australian people, so from individual donations. We do campaigns, etc. We then have a number of income sources from Australian trusts. These are long-term 3 to 5 year trust arrangements where significant trusts have realised what we're doing and how it's starting to really change lives, and they've got on board with us. And then the other side is long-term sponsorships from companies as well. So we have a range of companies who have come on for long-term sponsorship arrangements. We have a lot of in-kind support as well. So that's the funding from a monetary side. The non-monetary side, so for example, CSIRO provides us with all of our facilities besides this one here, which is provided again pro bono through Concord Hospital. And we also have Fujitsu, who does our ICT, KPMG, who does our strategic support, Minter Ellison, who does our legal support, Southern Cross Austereo, who does all of our advertising and radio support. And again, these are huge packages that they've offered up at no cost.
What impact would you say Soldier On has had?
I think we've really had an impact on the conversation in Australia. I think that we've significantly reduced the stigma that exists around asking for help within inside the military and external. I think we've also made an impact on the Australian people wanting to know more as to what they've just been a part of with Afghanistan. I think they're also now at a point where they want to know more about any other kind of conflict they're about to be involved in, because every time it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's peacekeeping, if it's support to a disaster relief emergency or anything like that, there is an impact. Not saying we shouldn't do these things, of course we should, but if we're going to war or other things, we need to recognise there is an impact and be prepared, not just from a government perspective, from a community perspective to support.
What have been your proudest moments to date?
I think it's when you talk to the veteran and they've said that or the family member, what we've done as an organisation has changed their life, or in fact, and I think these are the ones that mean the most, saved their life. That really, I don't know, it cuts through, and this job is complicated, and sometimes you're walking on eggshells, and where's the money coming from, where's it going, etc., etc. All of those things of management and leadership and all of that. But at the end of the day, when you hear that or you get a letter to that effect, that just cuts through and it makes it all worth it. And it's a real privilege to know that the work of the entire team is actually achieving such an amazing outcome. That makes it all worth it. And it highlights that we need to do more, because there's more out there that need to be writing that letter, to be honest, or wanting to write that letter.
What are your aspirations for Soldier On in the future?
So we want to take Soldier On, I guess, to the next level, which we feel is an increase in our scope. And the reason we want to do that is because we've noticed in following veterans that many of them, as I said earlier, want to continue to serve. And they do that by remaining in uniform, but the uniform's different. So they might become a paramedic or a police man or woman, or move into any of the emergency services. And we've also noticed through that the trauma they receive there is different, but its outcomes can be very, very similar, in fact the same for that veteran. We're also noticing that those that have never served in the Defence Force are suffering the same kind of outcomes because, as I said, they are seeing trauma on a day-to-day basis. We feel that the support mechanisms we offer with Inside Soldier On for veterans and veterans who have become emergency services should be offered to emergency services who have never actually served inside the ADF. I mean, they on a daily basis are going out, seeing things, and And when you're overseas, it's confined to 9, 10, whatever months, or maybe 12 months. When you're here, and it can be every shift, and that cumulative trauma and seeing those things, it has to have an impact on the person, and we know it's having an impact on them. And we feel that the services we provide are not provided by any other organisation to emergency services organisations around the country. We've already done a 12-month pilot in the ACT with fire and rescue there, and 15% of their current serving members have utilised our services, and we haven't pushed it very hard.